be on time to your own funeral. That sounds boring. Well, live as long as you can, right?
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to today's press conference as we head into Chattanooga week. Just a quick recap of last week at Wofford. Suffered a 28-21 defeat. Overcame a 21-point deficit to tie the game late in the fourth quarter there. Were unable to pull it out there at the end. Lorenzo Ward had a game-high 124 yards and a touchdown, marking the fifth straight season in which there was a 100-yard rusher in the season opener. Also, Noah Dawkins had a pair of interceptions, returned one for a touchdown, and was named the Southern Conference Defensive Player of the Week yesterday afternoon. We will start today's press conference with head coach Brent Thompson. After he takes questions, we will bring up running back Lorenzo Ward. So to get us started here, head coach Brent Thompson.
Thank you, John. Greatly appreciate you guys coming out tonight, this afternoon. We had a really good football game there, and it was as advertised. I knew it was going to be that kind of a game. It was a four-quarter ball game. I don't think when it started out I had envisioned that it was going to be a four-quarter ball game when it was 21-0, but I thought it was a good display of tenacity and never give up, never quit attitude by our football team. So I thought at that point we battled back. We put ourselves in position to be able to at least tie the game, send it into overtime, or possibly go for two and win it. We had some great individual performances. I thought Matt Campbell did a great job as punting. As a true freshman, to go out there and punt the football as he did was a real weapon for us and could have been a real game changer for us as well. Noah Dawkins was the game changer for us, put us in position for two scores and scored one himself. So I thought that helped us get back into position to be able to at least get a chance to tie the game up. We had great attendance there. We had great atmosphere there. It was everything that I thought it would be. Unfortunately, we came out on the wrong end of things. What we can improve on is probably playing a four-quarter game. I don't know that we played all four quarters. Either side of the ball, we gave up three very big plays on the defensive side. We punted the ball 8 times. We were atrocious on third down, and with the offense, we can do a much better job with that. I thought on the highlight on the offensive side, we were pretty good on fourth downs. We were 4 of 6, including the one at the end of the game. But defensively, I thought we did a good job of creating 2 turnovers, and both of them led to scores. So we did some good things both sides of the ball. I think we can improve on all those things. We're going to get better. We're still very young on the defensive side. We're going to get better there. We need to get better on offense, just moving the football more consistently, putting bigger drives together, keeping our defense off the field. That's the way we're going to win football games here. We needed to take a couple more shots down the field. When you look at it in hindsight, I just never thought that we had ourselves in a good position to be able to do that, crossing the 50, getting ourselves into a good spot to be able to take some chances down the field. We were a little bit off rhythm for about 3 quarters there. We just tried to maintain and stay within our game, that we didn't panic and try to at least put some points together, and we did right before the half there, and came out in the second half, got some points, and made it into a fourth quarter game. So that's a great football team. That certainly is a top 10 team. They're very talented. I think they're equally, if not better, in some areas than they were last year. The defense is very strong. I thought they had some really good players on the defensive side. But also on the offensive side, they've got their skilled players, and when they got the pitch and they got the alley, they ran away from us. So I think that they're going to go far. They've got a good chance to win the Southern Conference, and they're as advertised, and Coach Conklin's done a good job of taking over that team. As far as Chattanooga this week, we're first of all excited to be back at home in front of our own stands, in front of our own fans right here. We're going to be able to play for the first time at home in quite a while for us. We're excited about that. We're excited to be able to at least stay in our own beds and be able to get up the next morning and have a fairly relaxed schedule for us. I think that the Chattanooga team is a much improved team as well. They have shown a lot more productivity on offense going all the way back to last year. Probably from our game on last year, they ended up being a pretty good offensive football team. And I always thought that they were very stout, very athletic on the defensive side of the ball as well. They're coming off a pretty good win over a Tennessee Tech team. A little bit turnovers here and there in that game, a little special teams here and there in that game, and that's a little bit different of a ball game. It was probably a little bit closer than the score ended up being at the end of the day. But I think it should be a good game. They've got a couple days head start on us, so we've got to catch up today. But other than that, I think it'll be a great atmosphere. We should have a good time with it, and we're excited to get the game day. Questions?
You mentioned taking a shot down the field, stretching it a little bit. What's your confidence level with Jordan and his ability to do that?
Well, it's probably more of a confidence level in what we're going to get and what the play call is going to be out there, because at the end of the game when we had the 4th and 6 and we hit the vertical ball or the one pass completion that we did have, he was very confident. He looked off of his 1 and he got back to his 2. I think we've just got to do that a little bit more. A couple of the other scenarios, there could have been a couple more play calls that could have been better in those opportunities. Certainly in our 3-step game, I thought we could have handled those a little bit better. We did have some open receivers in our 3-step game. That's something that we have worked hard over the last spring and, of course, the fall camp, but obviously we need to keep on working on that. Some of it had to do with a little bit of a protection breakdown. We may have caused the throw to sail a little bit higher than expected on the goal line. And then we had another 3-step opportunity that we could have converted on a 3rd down that we didn't. So I still have confidence in our pass game. I just think we've got to have more confidence in being able to call it, run it, and be more effective at it.
Brent, it's just the second week of the season, but it's another conference game. How close to a must-win game is this if the Citadel wants to be in contention toward the end of the year?
Well, I think you can get away with 1 loss. There's no doubt about it. We went through the conference a couple of years ago undefeated, but that's very difficult to do, especially when you've got teams like Sanford out there lurking still. Wofford, of course, and Furman out there. You got some really good teams at the high end of this, and you don't know where Mercer's going to shake out of this thing either. So you've got some very good teams, and as you said to me the other day, is you don't want to start 0-2, and that's for sure. You'll be 0-2 in the league. So I'm not going to put any more undue pressure on us that it is a must-win, but we certainly do view it if we want to make a run at this thing that we've got to get this one.
Coach, having such a young team, how did getting that first game under your belt, even going 21-0 down and coming back, what does it say about this team, and what kind of learning curves does that help with that young squad?
Well, I told him in the locker room after the game that this game right here is going to go a long way for the whole season. It's going to prove to you that you're never going to give up here. You're never out of this game. You never know how things are going to turn out. We've just got to keep on plugging away. And with young guys, you don't know what kind of a football team you got until you reach some adversity like we had the other night. So I think it speaks a lot to just the character of these guys. I've always enjoyed coaching this group of guys going all the way back to last January when we graduated some of the seniors out of the program. This has been a good group of guys to work with. They fought extremely hard, and I don't believe that they're going to give up, and they're going to have a good showing out there on Saturday for sure.
Kind of going with that, what was the demeanor of the team after it? Obviously disappointed with the loss, but what was the demeanor to see that you saw from them after a comeback like that?
Well, we had a senior step up and say just exactly that. Phil Davis stepped up, one of our senior linebackers, has been with us for 4 years now, stepped up and said, this will not define our season. We were in this situation, or Wofford was in this situation a couple years ago after they had lost to us, battled back, and it is our goal to try to get back and maybe possibly meet them in the playoffs again. That's all we can do at this point. We can't go back and change history on the win, but we can try to get as many of the rest of them out there as possible. So I thought it was very positive. I came in about midway through what Phil was saying, and really the gist of it was we need to get back to work on Sunday, and we need to put this in our past, and we got to try to get back to maybe another playoff game with Wofford at some point.
For a while, Chattanooga was the team that ran the Southern Conference not too long ago. When you look at film with Arth, how have things changed over the past couple of seasons with the new head coach, and what do you see from them that'll challenge you next?
I still think they have the personnel there. They've got they're very talented personnel-wise. They've got very big offense and defensive lines. I think that hasn't changed. He's gone to a little bit more of a pro-style offense. He's got a lot of different formations, a lot of different adjustments. He'll try to run a lot of the same plays from all those different motions and formations and things, and that can be challenging for us on the defensive side. So that's a little bit different than Coach Huseman was a couple of years ago. Defensively, they're about the same personnel-wise. Their scheme's just a little bit different. They run more of a 3-down scheme instead of a 4-down scheme. But other than that, I still see a lot of the personnel as being the same. It's just a matter of those guys adjusting, and you could see that starting to take place at the end of last year, probably right at our game, a little bit after our game. They started to run the ball more, take a little bit more of an onus off the quarterback, put a little bit more on their running backs, and move the ball through the ground rather than the air. So I thought he's done a good job so far of developing that team, and he was put in a difficult situation having to take over from Coach Huseman, who had a pretty good run there.
Brent, on Saturday, Lorenzo banged away up the middle, but had a hard time getting the ball around the edge. What was the main issue?
Well, that was the game plan, really, was we were going to try to really work the ball inside. You know, we started off the game working it a little bit outside with our option game, and we were able to do that. We were able to get the quarterback on the perimeter a little bit, and that was as we adjusted through the game and as the defense adjusted through the game, they started to step out a little bit more, taking away our perimeter game. So we had to work more to the inside. And to Lorenzo's credit, we were able to score a touchdown on just a regular veer play for us. That I think helped us establish more of the inside run game, which is what we want to do. I would much rather establish the beatback game than the perimeter game first.
What's the number one thing that needs to get better on offense on Saturday? Is it blocking? Is it making reads? What would you say?
Yes. Obviously, we've got to throw the ball more efficiently. Probably we'll start with that. Yes, we do need to do all those things a little bit better, but you can't take anything away from that Wofford defensive line. That's a line that's been playing together for 3 years. They only graduated about 3 or 4 guys off of that whole defense. That's a defense that knows what they're doing. They're very similar to the way we were a couple of years ago when we had a pretty good stout defense. Is when you play together for a long time, they know exactly what to do. They're well coached. Coach Conklin is a defensive guy. So, yeah, I do give those guys a lot of credit, but we do need a lot of work. Obviously you notice we juggled our offensive line a little bit out of necessity the last, I would say, about 7 or 8 practices. And certainly that takes a little bit more than that, but we still have some really good offensive linemen up there that are going to open up some holes, and we'll get better up front. There's no doubt about that. As far as our reads were concerned, yeah, we missed a couple of reads in there, but those are things that I think with reps, this offense gets a little bit better throughout time than it does in that first game.
We've seen games between the Citadel and Chattanooga determine a conference champion. You know, what type of game do you expect to see Saturday from these two teams?
You'll see. I think you'll see a pretty physical ball game. They're both two physical teams. They like to liking the running the ball right now, and I know Chattanooga's done a good job of throwing the ball, and they did some good things against Tennessee Tech, throwing the ball and moving the formations around and getting the ball to the perimeter. But I do think they're going to want to establish the run more what they did last year against us. They hit a counter play on us that was pretty good for them last year. So I still think you'll see a lot of run game out there still. Obviously, from us, we want to be able to maintain possession of the ball again, put long drives together. For them, I think they're going to want to take their shots down the field, but they're going to be a run-oriented team as well.
Brent, what's impressed you about Lorenzo's sort of journey from walk-on to starting beatback where he is now?
Yeah, when he first got here, I didn't know that he was going to make it beyond that, and now he's made it to a scholarship player for us because of everything that he's done. He is what this program is all about. When I talk to guys about guys that have developed from just walk-on guys to guys that are actually starters and scholarship guys for us, and there's nothing special other than the fact that he's a savvy, good, tough football player about him. That's what makes him special. He won't blow you off the charts with his speed, but he's a weight room guy. He knows exactly what to do on every single play. He's the hardest worker that we've got on that offense right now, and so we rewarded him with a scholarship this past off season, and I think he's deserved and earned every single little bit about the money that he's been given.
Let me ask you one question about their personnel. I was looking at their roster today, and they got about 15 kids that are transfers from Division 1A.
Sure.
Are a lot of those guys contributors, or just?
You know, I would say there's a good majority of those guys that are contributors. There are certainly some good transfers out there. Some of them are a lot like the fifth-year guys that we've got. They're role player guys for us. They're guys that do a great job for us. And I even saw some really good things out of our fifth years last weekend. So a lot of the same things I think are happening throughout FCS. The one big transfer that they've got right now is, of course, the quarterback, the transfer from Mississippi State that's starting for them now. So other than that, there's a couple of guys that are sprinkled throughout that are good players. But of course, they're transfers for a reason or another. Sure. Yeah, and whenever you're trying to build your depth up, it's the same thing. The reason why we take graduate transfers is because that's our avenue to build our roster and build our depth a little bit, and that's similar to what they're doing right now.
Brent, can you talk about the true freshmen who played Saturday? Might be tough off the top of your head.
Well, you saw a little bit of Mason Kinsey in there. He played 15, 16 snaps in there. I know he did a really good job for us, and he's going to continue to develop. He's out of Texas, so we knew kind of what we were getting out of there. Well coached, disciplined, big, strong fellow right there. So I think he did a good job on the defensive side of the ball. On the offensive side of the ball, we did play Clay Harris for about 6 reps or so. We need to get him a little bit more looks. I still think we're going to get Amike Nwanze some looks in there at B-back as well. That B-back spot, as Lorenzo can attest to here in a minute, that he's going to have some pretty good guys on his heels as well. On the offensive line, we didn't play anybody. On the wide receiver, we didn't play anybody. In the secondary, we played Chris Beverly played fairly well. He had a couple of tackles in there that I think he did a good job with. There's certainly some things that just along the defensive lines of missed tackles. Those were just probably rampant throughout our defense. We've got to continue to work on those. But I thought Wofford had some pretty strong guys out there, too, that were running through us. Destin played the bandit spot for us. Destin had a really good game. Had a couple of errors there that are truly just freshman mistakes, but he's going to continue to develop. That's why I said this defense is going to continue to get better and better, similar to the way our offensive line got better and better throughout the year last year. We're starting 2 freshmen on the O-line. Oh, yeah, of course, yeah. The freshman punter did a heck of a job for us and really turn the game around for us. And if he can continue to do that, I think he'll be a real weapon for us with just field position. We want to be a field position ball control team. And I think he's going to help us out quite a bit. Thank you.
At this time, we're going to bring up B-back Lorenzo Ward. If you guys want to have any questions for Lorenzo.
I think it is my first one, yes. No, they had a game in Orlando against Alabama.
The same on Saturday night?
Yes, sir, Saturday.
Okay. So were you jumping to get on the phone and talk to him about it, or was it a big deal for you? Or
all grown up through high school, playing football in my life, my dad's always taught me to be humble, and whatever you work for, it shows on the field. And then if you've been working for it, you earn it. Then it's nothing new. It's nothing that you need to, go out of the way, just make everybody know about. He's always just instilled that confidence in me that I know that I can always have a performance like that, no matter what. And he's been a big help for me with that. And then getting on the phone with him after the game, I know they had a tough loss just as us. To send him a text saying, keep your head up, on to the next one just like us. So.
Talk about the moment when you got your scholarship. How did that all happen?
I was surprised. I just looked down at the paper, looked back up at Coach Thompson a few times, signed the line, and I just gave him a big hug. It was a great moment for me.
Did he call you in the office? Did you know what was happening? Did you think you were in trouble?
At first I did, but all in my head I was like, I wasn't late to any meetings, late to any workouts, so can't be anything too bad. So yeah, when he had called me into the office, it was a surprise.
What was your folks' reaction?
My mom, she was happy for me because she knows that's one thing that I've always been working for since I came here. To work my way to either being a contributor on this team or earning some scholarship money. So she was excited for me. And my dad, he always had the faith in me that someday, eventually, something like this would happen for me.
Just after such a tough loss against a rival, how do you guys plan to regroup? How do you get past that, focus on Chattanooga, focus on the home opener?
We have a 24-hour rule. Coach Thompson speaks about it a lot on Sundays when we come back in. After that game, you get 24 hours, soak about it, feel down about yourself, lick your wounds after that. But when it comes time for Sunday, it's time to get back to work. And all the guys in the locker room, they've had great attitudes about that. We're excited, be ready to play in front of our friends and family, and Johnson Hagan, it'll be an exciting game for us.
What positives can you carry over, even though it wasn't a loss?
How hard we work to finish out the game. Yeah, we need to put it all together for all 4 quarters, but how we ended the game is how we should start, and that's one thing that we've been preaching to each other, that no matter what happens, we always need to play as hard as we can, no matter what.
It's awful early in the season to talk about a must-win game, but how big is this game? Second conference game to start the season.
Every game in the SoCon it's a tough game. We view every game as a must-win. Obviously, nobody wants to be on the bad end of a game and not come out with a victory, but in the SoCon, every week is going to be a tough physical game. Every team out there, they're working just as hard as you are in the summer and in the winter to go out there and win as many games as possible during the season.
The thing that impressed me about your team, you got behind 21-0. Rather than hanging your head, you kept chipping away, made a few plays, came right back into it. That ought to be a great lesson for you throughout the season, right? You can always come back.
Yes, sir, and that's one of the differences that we have this year than we did last year. The leadership that we have as a senior class this year, it's a greater presence in that locker room and on the field than it was last year. We're not going to let anybody hang their head, no matter what the score is, whether we're on the bad end of a blowout or whether it's a close game. We always have to make sure we're always doing what we have to do. No hanging your heads. We always have a job to do.
I don't want to get your father in trouble. He has a game to get ready for, but was he following your night, or the first time you hear about your performance was when you got on the phone with him after the game?
I know last year, whether they'd have a game that started after ours or not, he just watched he has the ESPN app on his phone. He'll just check the score or whatever. But other than that, when it's time for him to get ready for his games, we know when there's a good time to talk to each other about what we had going on Saturdays.